Yeah, I want to talk about September 11th, what happened the day prior and the day of. First, I want to start off with my son for his 16th birthday, he wanted to go to New York. So we took him to New York. We did the small bus tour. We stayed at the Elise Hotel, which is like what, 40th and Broadway, pretty much like Times Square, maybe a block or two from Times Square. Pretty expensive in New York. Little small room, two beds, but it's all good. Let him experience that. So while doing the small bus tour, we got a chance to see everything. You get out, walk around the Brooklyn Bridge, you do everything. So one of the things we did was the 9/11 memorial. And while I was there, it got me to thinking, while I was in the military, what I experienced on that day and the day prior. And, to share that with some people, you know, like-minded. So with that being said, here we go. So September 10th, I had duty. For those who don't know, it's different at every duty station, but this particular duty station, when I was stationed at Port Hueneme, California, basically you assume duty. So I assumed duty on the 10th. I would stay late and had, to like 6 and had to lock up the building, monitor the phone, the main line if anybody called. So on the 10th, I'm sitting there at the main phone. I would say maybe about 5:30, I get a phone call, a Red Cross message. And Red Cross message normally is when there's a death in the family or death of a service member. So I'm taking down the information, you know, state, the time and everything. And the person's name is my supervisor. So it was his father who died. He had a massive heart attack. And at that time, he was considered young. He's like maybe like 55, his dad, but he had a massive heart attack. So after I got off the phone, taking all the information down, I called my supervisor cell phone because I knew he was in San Diego and TAD. So I didn't get up. He didn't pick up. So I called his wife. I'm, trying to talk to his wife. Couldn't really understand her because she's just crying. From time, she picked up the phone, she was crying. So I told her I would try to reach back out to her husband again. So I called him again. There was still not an answer. But then I got to thinking, we had another guy who was down in San Diego with him for this class. So I called him. He picks up, and I asked him, "Where's old boy at?" He says, "Oh, he's on the basketball court." I told him like, "Hey, you need to get him off the court immediately and tell him to call his wife." So at that time, after I got off the phone, so I reached out to my senior chief and talked to the senior chief. So they decided we would cancel his orders and bring him home that night. So they came back home that night and they made all the reservations for them to fly to Georgia because that's where their father resided, was in Georgia. So the next morning, which was September 11th, I'm on the West Coast. So when you have duty the next day, you have to, you have to be the first one in, open up by a certain time. So, back then I didn't really listen to the news at all. So I get there, sitting in the car, listen to my music. Never really listen. I wasn't even listening to the radio. So I'm listening to the music. So the CNC pulls in like, like mashing the brakes to get in, hurry up. And he's like, Humbles, you hear what happened? I'm like, no, man, I'm just, just sitting here listening to my music. So plane just flew into the World Trade Center. I'm like, oh, really? He said, yeah, we're not sure what happened, so hurry up, get out the car. And we rushed into the building. So we're watching the news and everything. So while it's going on, everyone from work starts to get there. And we're just right there in the entrance where the TV's at. Everyone's just gathered around the TV. And while People are gathered around. You could see. Then a second plane hit, and at that time, like you can hear like a pin drop, even though we were in the area where it was carpet. You can hear anything hit the carpet. With maybe 15 people gathered around this TV. So at that time, that's when they realized like I guess they put out all planes were going to be down. And then we realized at that time my supervisor was going to have to drive from California to Georgia, and that's him and his family. If I'm not mistaken, they had 3 kids at the time, 2 or 3, in that state to handle the situation with his father. So, and then as well, normally when you had duty like that, you had to work the next day. But since I had to, stay late, and help with it, everything, the senior chief was like, well, Humbles, it looks like they're going to shut the base down. So since you stay late, you can go home. But if you're going to go, you need to leave now because they're going to shut this place down. So I'm like, all right, senior. So I got my stuff and rode out. There was like a side gate right where our building was at. So once I went out the side gate, while I was going out, I'm the last car going out. Like, yeah, they shut the gate down. And later that day, I drove by the base, and you could see the cars just lined up, just people trying to get into the base and get out. But it was wild. So they like after that they changed a lot of things, getting on and getting off. Because at that time it was pretty much like wild wild west. You just roll up, you have an ID, you can just get on. So with that being said, that was the story of what happened on 9/11 while I was stationed in Port Hueneme, California.